Crypto isn't a zero-sum game, or at least not yet. While some companies are attempting to compete for established markets, others have realized the potential to reach into new corners of the globe and create new markets. One of these is US-based peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchange Paxful. Much of the exchange's growth has come from users in the African continent. In 2018, Paxful's user base almost tripled in Ghana with 41,243 accounts, and more than doubled in Nigeria to 321,476 accounts. Since then, the platform has continued to grow. In October of 2019, Paxful recorded a 64% increase in the number of trades across the African continent since October of 2018, including a 2,800% increase in trades from South Africa alone. In total, Paxful now has 3 million wallets and processes over 50,000 trades a day globally. The exchange's growth has not gone unnoticed. In December, Binance announced that Paxful's web-based virtual Bitcoin kiosk was to be integrated and directly available on the Binance platform for new and existing users. Recently, finance magnates spoke with Youssef, Paxful's chief executive and co-founder, about the exchange's strategy for growth in Africa, the ethics of engaging with unbanked individuals, and the future of the exchange. I'm Rachel McIntosh. Welcome to the Finance Magnates Blockchain Podcast. So, Ray, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again on the podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here again. You guys have grown just as much as we've grown.
Yeah. So can you just quickly, before we dive into talking a little bit more about that growth, can you remind our listeners who you are?
My name is Youssef. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Paxful. I'm a New York City boy. My parents actually moved to New York City when I was 2 years old from Egypt. Grew up in Hell's Kitchen, so it's an immigrant success story, and it's my story. I love to tell it because it's real. But I started Paxful about 5 years ago because I met this Estonian guy named Artur in New York City at my first Bitcoin meetup, and it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, it has. It certainly has. So can you tell us a little bit about exactly what has happened? So we spoke about 2 years ago, and at that point, Paxful was really starting to scale up some of its activity in Africa and in other places around the world. So what's happened, in the last year and a half, 2 years or so?
Yeah, amazing things have happened. So I'm sure you guys have heard about, Jack Dorsey went on a trip to Africa, the CEO of Twitter, and he came back and he tweeted like, "Hey, Africa is going to define the future of Bitcoin." And everyone was like, "Really? Wow!" And everyone started talking about it. They started looking around like, who here knows about crypto and Africa? And they came straight to us because we've been saying the same thing for the past 3.5 years. I'm African originally. I go there often. And when I went there and I saw the problems that people had with money, and I was like, wow, wait a minute. There is real, true need for Bitcoin here, not on a speculative basis, but on a real utility basis.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing, right? That's the first pillar of this whole argument. And the second is that, Africa does have the greatest natural resources in the world. But I'm not talking about the natural resources buried in the ground. I'm talking about the natural resources in the heads of all those brilliant young people walking around. As an American, when I first started talking about Bitcoin in Africa, it was funny because everyone came out and said, "Oh, that's bullshit. Those Africans don't have any money at all. They can't. How are they gonna use Bitcoin when they make
right.
a month or so?" I'm like, I really couldn't blame them for saying that, as ignorant as it was, because there was a time where I believed the same thing. As an American, the Fed's BS about Africa. We're only shown poverty, disease, and corruption. Those are the only things we hear. But when you actually go see, wait a minute, these people have money. They have a lot of money there. There's a lot of wealth there. They just can't use it. The banking system there is disattached from the rest of the world. If you're in Western Africa and you want to send money out of the country, it's nearly impossible. They have to go to 3 or 4 or 5 hops. They have to use their friends and family networks. Nigerians especially have become very creative about this. And, when I first started talking about Africa and Bitcoin, everyone started making Nigerian jokes, scammer jokes. And, the Nigerian people are very honest. They've suffered more from scammers than anyone else, and corruption from anyone else. And The story of Bitcoin in Africa is honestly a story of people being scammed by Bitcoin-related activities. We went and did a campus tour last year in 8 African universities. And it got to a point that when you talk to the African people and you ask them about Bitcoin, you see their eyes kind of like, they kind of step back a little bit, like, oh, Bitcoin. Like, well, like, oh, my sister was scammed in a multi-level marketing scam that wanted Bitcoin. My uncle lost all his money in a mining scam. Oh, my brother was day trading and lost all his money. Like, everyone anyone who knows, like, anyone in Africa, anyone who's dealt with Bitcoin knows someone or has been scammed by a Bitcoin-related activity in some way.
Yeah.
So when I went there and I spoke to those students, I told them, okay, all this stuff you're talking about, it was about investing, speculating, putting your money in Bitcoin and just waiting and hoping you get rich. That's not what Bitcoin is. There's another way to use it. You can use it as a means of exchange, as a means to move and transfer and convert your money and move it around the world to solve real problems based on real use cases like remittance, payments, e-commerce, wealth preservation. Once you give it to them like that, they're like, okay, tell me more. And I'll give you guys a lot of examples. Those examples are how we learn, but all Paxful really did is that we went there, we went to Africa, and we actually engaged with the people. We listened to them. We found out what their problems were. We found out what the dominant payment networks were, how people use the money that they have. And then we found out who the big players were, and we got them all together in a room and said, hey, let's solve these problems. Here's how we can do it. This magical internet money, Bitcoin is just one of the building blocks. You guys are the other big building block here. And all this that we're doing is really like Hawala 2.0. When you explain it to Indians that way, they get it. Like Africans get it too, because Africans have their own money rotation groups and structures. Like in Nigeria and the USA, they call it Isusu. In South Africa, they call it Paxful. In Kenya, they call it Chama. So they have all these structures that have existed for hundreds, thousands of years. All we have, and they exist. They've lasted. They're working. They have a huge member. Like women really are the dominant members of these clubs. So women really drive the financial economy of Africa. Women drive the financial economy of the world, actually. So when you actually talk to them and you learn from them, it's like, wow, there's ways here that Bitcoin can really help people. But it's not about.
So sorry to interrupt you. So I want to ask you a little bit more. If you say these financial clubs and they have these different names, can you talk a little bit specifically more about what that is? Because I personally, I'm not really sure what that is.
Okay, so Isusu, Stockville, Chama. In every society has them. In the Philippines, you call it Palangwagan, and it's basically like these money rotation clubs. Like, for example, 3 mothers will get together from the same village, and they'll say, okay, hey, this month I got paid this much. This month. They'll take all the money that they've gotten this month, and they'll give it to one of the ladies.
Okay.
Right? And she'll be able to use it to, say, buy a sewing machine, to start up her business, right? And then the next month, all the money will go to another one of the ladies. And the money rotation thing is just one of the mechanisms they use. They have other mechanisms as well, including like this inherent credit rating system. It's basically like a rating of credit amongst each other. It's peer-to-peer credit rating, money rotation, lending systems that they have, right?
That's amazing. I had no idea that was a thing.
Me neither. And when you go to Africa and you actually talk to people, you're like, wait a minute, these people have advanced financial, social structures that have existed for thousands of years. They're not primitive savages. We can work with their existing structure here and make amazing things happen. And once you do that, the whole continent will open up for you, because too many people, too many businesses, they pursue Africa with the mindset of a serial rapist. They're trying to just penetrate. It's like, come on, man. Like, how about going there and actually, understanding the people and then working with them? Because money is all about trust, and Africa is all about relationships, just like the rest of the world.
Right.
That's all we've learned. That's the secret to our success in Africa. Very simple. Like, we're not super crypto geniuses like all the others in the space. We just went there, talked to people, learned from them, and gave them what they needed. That's it. That's all we did. But it sounds like magic now. It's like, how do those guys do it? We just talk with them like they're human beings. That's it. It works.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is so true though, because I think that like, especially as a journalist covering this space, a lot of the time, people that I speak with are great people with good ideas who are really smart, but they're kind of looking at the world from the top down. You know what I mean? Like, that I think that's really common, especially when you're building, things for quote unquote the unbanked or whatever. I remember, I think it was Dovey Wan on Twitter who said like, I love one of the things that maybe it was her, maybe it was somebody else. One of the things that she loves to ask people who are building things for the unbanked is, do you actually know anyone who's unbanked? Have you talked to anybody who's unbanked? And most of the time the answer is no.
Yeah, of course. They never even tried. I mean, honestly, when those people need help, financial help, most people run. Like when the whole, the whole Backpage thing started in America, and these poor women started calling me up on the phone, and they were like, "I need this $5 of Bitcoin, Bitcoin." They couldn't even know what Bitcoin was.
Right.
They just needed $5. They didn't. They had no bank account. They
Right.
were hard to deal with. The first woman just cursed me out for like a half hour. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I think you told me that story. Is this the Fosta Sesta thing as a result of that, or just more generally, like, people using?
These were unbanked peoples in America
Okay.
that needed help, and no one wanted to help them because no one. It was not worth for anyone to spend 2 hours on the phone trying to help this unbanked person get their first Bitcoin so they can make 42 cents of profit if they were lucky, right? So everyone just ignored it. The unbanked or the poor or whatever you want to call it, people run. They really don't want to deal with them. That's just the truth. That's why poor people pay more for financial services. And the truth is, and it might sound unpopular, but this might be unpopular in the crypto community, but honestly, if you can help the poor move and use their money, they're happy to pay you 30%. The alternative is they can't do it at all. And that's the truth. Imagine having all this money and not being able to use it at all. Imagine having all that plastic in your wallet and not being able to spend more than $100 a month online total with all the plastic in your wallet.
Right.
That's the
And that's the
reality
case
for
in
so
some
many
African
people.
countries, right?
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
imagine that. You can't even buy an Xbox, man. You buy one game at a time.
It's so crazy. So talk to me a little bit, so this, now we know about Paxful philosophy and the things that you're like, the community that you're growing in Africa. How are you putting your feet on the ground there? What are the tools that you've built, not only for users in Africa, but also for other places in the world?
Okay, that's a great question. So we have several instruments that we use, just ways to reach out to the people and structure how we all work together. One is called a Peers program. It's basically a program of Paxful ambassadors that will educate people about Paxful and Bitcoin and how they can use it in their lives. That will go around and learn about people's issues. Like, for example, South Africa is where most of our peers currently are. And South is a great place in Africa because so many people from the rest of Africa come to South Africa for jobs, for networking, and for a lot of things. So we have ambassadors there from all parts of Africa. And they're really doing a great deal of work on educating us on, for example, what are the money problems in Malawi or Burkina Faso?
Okay.
And it's been eye-opening for us. Because a lot of the stuff we go in person and we learn from, but this network of peers is proving amazingly just beneficial to everyone. Like, for example, I heard before that the French actually might have controlled 5 economies in Africa through their bogus African franc, which is about as African as the Federal Reserve is federal. Turns 14 economies that the French control in Africa. It is slavery. Truly is financial slavery of the highest order, and the French still have 14 countries under their control.
Wow.
The Africans are trying to break free from this system, and it's our job here in Bitcoin and peer-to-peer finance to help them do so. There's all kinds of things and experiments are going to be happening now as these countries try to slowly inch away from this French system. And that is our cue to actually go in there and help them. Because imagine this. Imagine we can say, us in Bitcoin crypto land, we can say, hey guys, we helped kick the French out of Africa. Now that is an achievement.
That's pretty badass. Yeah.
You can't beat that. That's like geopolitical level right there.
It really is. Yeah.
And that's one of my goals this year. I mean, I have nothing against the French. Some of my best friends are French. My mother's learning French, but the Africans, the French central bank, like they basically like lord over 14 countries and like 5 times more people than in France in these countries. It's not right. Someone has to do something about that. And we can do something about that. Now, there are challenges. Now, working in Africa is extremely challenging. If you look at, like, you type Paxful Nigeria into a search engine, you'll see these articles like Paxful has stolen billions from the African people. We busted a huge ring of Nigerian scammers. Scarlet Widow, the Black Axe, these are huge organized scam rings out of that country. We found them operating on our platform. We have a very tight AML compliance structure, and we just busted them. We shut them all down. They went crazy. They came after us with everything. And that's what you're going to get into in Africa. If you're actually going to try and help people. I mean, they personally slandered me, my wife, all over social media. It was disgusting. I was in a place where I was like, man, do I really want to put myself through this? For what? If I just want a happy life, it's a lot of stuff I can do. But if you actually want to make a change and you want to help Africa, you're going to have to go through that. And it's not going to be easy. And that's why no one's done it. That's why PayPal ran away from Nigeria and Coinbase won't even deal with the place. But I'll tell you something about the Nigerian people. They have some of the most amazing business acumen ever. Because Africans in general are very, I know this from African, they're very gentle people. See how soft-spoken they are. They're that gentle, but meanwhile, they're in the money. They're dealing with money. They're in the money business with us Americans who are complete savages. No offense to my fellow Americans out there, but it's true.
Yeah,
but the Nigerian people have the business acumen and drive to actually like survive out there, which is impressive. So when I looked at the Nigerians, I was like, wow, these guys they're the key to like picking up Africa. They really are. So we went hard in Nigeria. No matter how hard and challenging it was going to be because of the fraud rates and whatnot, we did it. And it's proving to be a brilliant choice because the Nigerian people, they are a bit dramatic. I'll say they got Nollywood, Nollywood? Like, it's like the biggest,
I did not know that was a thing. I'm learning so much.
It's a huge thing, man.
Oh my God.
Bigger than Bollywood, man. It's crazy. They got some really crazy, but they're super dramatic. I'll tell you, man, Nigerians will be like, it's an amazing place.
I've got to check this out.
Lagos is like Miami in the 80s on steroids. I've never seen anything like it. And I grew up in New York in the 80s. I'm saying something.
Okay, yeah. It sounds amazing. It's totally.
Oh, yeah. Get on a tuk-tuk ride in Lagos, it'll change your life. I'm telling you right now.
Oh my God. So one of the big things that's happened for you guys in the last few months is that you formed this partnership with Binance, which is sort of like on this spree to open up these fiat gateways like all across the world. They're building a presence in Russia and China and Turkey and in Korea and everywhere. And so what was the sort of purpose of the partnership that you guys formed with Binance?
We want to raise all boats in the space, and Binance, working with those guys, it's no secret why they're on top. They move with incredible speed and aggression, and I love it. We actually matched it. That was not easy. What Binance wants to do is they want to bank the world, right? They want to provide services to the entire planet. That's not easy because it's hard for people to get Bitcoin. We are the guys that have gone to every corner of the world and said, hey, how can we get crypto to these people and show them how to use it in a way that is non-speculative? It's an interesting arrangement because we focus on, if you look at the 7 true use cases of Bitcoin, there's gray market, speculation, where like 95% of the volume is right now, payments, e-commerce, wealth preservation, remittance, and finally social good, where we're also making moves. We just built our 3rd school in Kenya. We're almost done with it. But Binance focuses mostly on speculation and wealth preservation. We focus on the other 4 use cases, right? But we're working together because we can actually reach the people. And if we can get all these people into the crypto economy, Binance is hoping they trade on Binance, and that's a great exchange. And we're hoping that they use it to send money to their friends and family, or introduce their friends and family to an easier way to send money to them, thereby getting more Bitcoin into their local economies, creating a base of vendors and entrepreneurs there, of course, getting them money at much cheaper, much faster methods, etc. So it's a good partnership. It's going to get better and better. We just started, and it's the way forward. Binance doesn't waste any time. They say they want to do something, they do it.
That's really true. Yeah, it's like you said, they are moving with incredible speed. It's just crazy how much progress they've made. But yeah, so I wonder if you have any thoughts. From the outside, it sort of looks like Binance, like you said, it's an exchange. It focuses mostly on on trading and speculation, and that's what it does. But with the introduction of like the Venus project, which is still in the works, hasn't really been released yet. But do you think that Binance could possibly be positioning itself as a sort of like not quite a bank, but something very similar, and by the same turn, is that what Paxful is trying to do also?
Well, Binance's Venus initiative, they talk about the Belt and Road, right, which is a very Chinese thing. They want to go there and build the highways and the train lines and own them too, right? Like,
oh boy, yeah.
Cool. All right, yeah. I mean, I wish the Africans owned them. It's their country, but the Chinese are adding value. They're building out infrastructure, and I think Binance sees it the same way. They want to build out financial infrastructures in those places, and of course, they'll own it, right?
Yeah.
I think whatever Binance does there will be still way better than anything the Africans have right now. But at the end of the day, you want people to build their own networks. Like the African peoples have been building these peer-to-peer financial networks for the past few thousand years. Right? It should be within their hands. It should be systems that they understand. Whether it's us or Binance going in there and trying to give them a structure. So, okay, so let me be completely honest with you guys, 100% about Paxful's plans.
Yeah.
In Africa. And I'll start from the beginning.
Great.
We really didn't know what we were doing. We went in there. I started talking, I'm serious. I started talking, people think, wow, you really got Africa. You figured them out. Wow, it's amazing. Well, they taught us everything. I'm serious. Once the African peoples discovered our platform and we saw how they were using it, we were like, oh my goodness, what the hell is going on? We couldn't believe it. We didn't understand. We had to, this one fellow, Matt Arlong of Useful Tulips, he did a deep dive in traffic, and he came out with stunning gems. And, I'm always doing customer support, like at least almost every day. And I'm always talking to people. I want to see why they're coming here, what they're using Bitcoin for. And it just blows my mind how creative they are. They'll use a platform like Paxful, which is just a way to buy and sell Bitcoin for anything, right? And they'll use it to solve all their financial problems. Like a Nigerian fellow will say, hey, my brother in San Francisco, buy me this gift card from the drugstore. Send me a picture of the front and back. He sells it to a dude in China on Paxful for Bitcoin, and then takes that Bitcoin and sells it to a dude in Abuja, Nigeria, on Paxful, and says, hey, send some money to my bank account for this Bitcoin. They do it. So all they did was they just turned a gift card into local money in their bank account nearly instantly, like same day. And they did so. And Bitcoin really, in that sense, it was just a clearing layer to do that. They were two peer-to-peer trades. They just made it happen. If this process was optimized, streamlined, Bitcoin would be invisible. It would really be invisible in the whole process. And that's what we're working on right now, making Bitcoin as invisible as possible in this process. Because we as Bitcoin people, we love talking about Bitcoin. We love Bitcoin. So libertarians, wet fantasy and all that. But most humans on the planet don't care. They just want to solve their money problems. Like the single mother in Venezuela who just got paid. She wants to make sure that any leftover money she has next week is worth the same. She can preserve the value of her wealth. The only reason she typed Bitcoin into that search engine was she heard that Bitcoin thing might be able to help her and her children. She doesn't care about the Bitcoin itself, and trying to sit there and convince someone they should love Bitcoin because it's, technologically superior and whatnot, that doesn't make sense. If we're going to do our jobs right here in peer-to-peer finance, and what we're doing is peer-to-peer finance, we must make Bitcoin as invisible as possible. And it is our African users that taught us that. They taught us what the true use cases of Bitcoin are. They taught us what peer-to-peer finance is. And that's the truth, guys. I wish I could come here and outline some brilliant Steve Jobs-like, roadmap for saving the world, but we're just listening to our users. They've taught us everything. And we're just listening to them is actually a huge achievement in and of itself.
Right. And I mean, speaking of Steve Jobs, it seems like, Apple is sort of taking a new turn and actually starting to listen to its users as well. So, with some of its new product design. So hopefully this is something that will continue, is that we won't see so many things, so many platforms, products being built from the top down, but as you're saying, from the bottom up, from the user, to the developer.
Hopefully so. I mean, look at M-Pesa. M-Pesa is the dominant payment network in Kenya. It's owned by a telco called Safaricom. It's the biggest corporation in Kenya. M-Pesa is huge in Kenya. Every young person has an M-Pesa account. They don't even have bank accounts anymore. They don't need them. Oh, and by the way, you can send money to any M-Pesa account in Kenya from Paxful within like 5 seconds, and you won't pay a fee. The other person will get like 1% more. I actually did that with my friend in Kenya, sent money to her sister in Nairobi from Berlin, and she was like, she got it within seconds, and she got a little more than she put in. Anyway, wow. What's amazing is that M-Pesa tried to launch in South Africa, and it flopped. This is an African company, purely African, trying to launch in another African country, flopping miserably. Wow. That should make people really sober up there. Whoa, what? Yeah. They're like the guys that figured it out in Eastern Africa, and they couldn't do it in South Africa, completely flopped, had to leave the country. What went down? It's not just white people that suffer from this bottom, top to down mentality. It's anyone, right? Any business initiative, right? There's a fine art to this, and it starts from being humble. They probably went in too high on their horses and didn't take the time to really understand the people there, understand the use cases, and thought they were going to go with the same blanket approach and penetrate that new market. It doesn't work that way. You have to really go in there, understand, take your time, just swim among the people and really take the time to learn from them. If you're not going to learn from them, if you're not going to give them that kind of respect, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how successful you've been or how smart you are, think you are.
Yeah, that's very, very wise, I think, especially for something like cryptocurrency, which is, a peer-to-peer network. But speaking of that, are you still a Bitcoin maximalist, Ray? Because last time we spoke, you were all about that.
Yeah, me and Artur are maxis at heart. We only support. Okay, so on our platform, everything has to go through Bitcoin. Everything, every other fiat, even other cryptocurrencies that we support, they all have to go through Bitcoin because the world needs one central clearing layer. Just one. And all the momentum should go towards that. And I say that because if you're just talking to someone in Africa and you're trying to teach them about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and imagine you're talking about Bitcoin, and there's 67,000 other tokens there that you have to educate them about. There's 22 different versions of Bitcoin. It's too much, man. Take away the momentum. Like there's some psychology at play here. You cannot overwhelm people. You have to keep people focused. That being said, whether that central clearing layer is Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or whatever it might be, Bitcoin Cash, I don't know. It just needs to be one. It can be any one of those things. It can be some new currency in the future, but there needs to be one clearing layer. Now, I do believe there is a huge role for local currencies. Like there should be. Look at what's happening in Lebanon right now. Like, it's a crazy situation. Like, that
Okay,
country
yeah,
is,
what's happening in Lebanon?
man. So basically, the Lebanese lira is pegged to the U.S. dollar, which is useful for economies because they can't be inflated. But what can happen is if their reserves of USD leave the country somehow, and it's very easy for that to happen because they don't actually own any USD. All the electronic USD is in the Federal Reserve in New York City. It's not in Beirut, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be attacked. And what happened was $35 billion left that country overnight.
Oh my God.
So then the banks didn't have any money to give to people. They have to limit people over there to $200 a month they can
Oh
take
my
out from.
God.
So people are actually destroying the banks. They're like breaking into the banks. They're wrecking the whole country. They can't live. That country is now under deflationary attack because of their
Mm-hmm.
reliance on the US dollar. What needs to happen in that situation? I can't really go in and help Lebanon because we're an American company and there's a lot of OFAC screening issues in those
Right.
places, unfortunately. But I think the Lebanese people can do a lot to help themselves. And if they
Mm-hmm.
can come out with their own crypto and number, okay, that's easy. Anyone can come out with their own crypto, come out with Raycoin tonight, but they have to actually bind it to real things like grocery stores, real services, get an economy flowing immediately. If they can do that, they can bring sanity and save their economy. So these local coins, I see a future for them, a real future for them if they can get traction with people. And
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense because like there's towns in New York State that use their own form of local currency. And they've been doing so for like decades, right?
Okay,
That works.
yeah.
You go to a farmer's market, they'll give you these little wooden tokens. Sometimes you can only buy from farmers with that little wooden token. So these local currencies and the local economies do work. It is a viable thing. And crypto would just help those things scale up and run smoothly. It's not a new concept there. So that really takes away most of the friction. The hard part is just getting traction for these things. Like when you introduce it, how are you going to introduce it to people? Okay, they can buy into it with some other form of currency. Problem is most people don't have any other form of currency.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could introduce it as a universal basic income for people. Like, hey,
Right.
everyone gets like, 1,000 lira coin a month. But then you have to actually take that lira coin and make sure that you can actually like help local, you can actually connect it to local grocery stores and things like that. So people can actually get stuff for it and live. Then it'll get traction. But to do that, you need a lot of groceries. You're building an economy from scratch. This is not easy to do, but where there's necessity, where there's desperation, it's possible to do that. But I think in the future, we're going to start seeing a lot more of that, especially as the currency wars really ramp up. And the
Mm-hmm.
currency wars happen in many different ways. I think inflation attacks like in Venezuela, which are devastating. Deflationary attacks like in Lebanon, which are also devastating. And there's other forms of attacks as well that the man can just use to shut down the whole economy. So this is not going away. This is only going to continue to grow.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think it's easy to forget that the modern financial system, this idea of the United States dollar, for example, having such a massive hold on the global economy is a very recent development. Local currencies and local economies have been sort of the norm for most of the history of human society.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's really amazing the power that they have. If they have control the reserve currency of the world, they can render your currency worthless
Mm-hmm.
in a matter of look what's happening in Venezuela. Imagine your whole life savings evaporating, like literally overnight.
Yeah.
Think about how evil that is. I mean, it's like certain religions will say you can do whatever you want, but there's no economic warfare allowed. Why? Because it's the most devastating. Like you can just completely thrash a whole and the most vulnerable people of a civilization will suffer.
Yeah.
It really is. We're living in demonic times over here. And again, that brings us back to, hey, us people in Bitcoin land, we can actually help these people. We can
Mm-hmm.
actually help these people for the first time ever in human history. There's a way out, right? It's awesome. But unfortunately, we're still playing games with this magical internet money and trading it and speculating it and just messing things up. We're not focused, right? So one of
You're
our
right.
jobs,
Yeah.
get everyone focused, get all these brilliant minds focused on this amazing opportunity that we have.
Yeah, and one of the things that you've been doing, you know, in order to sort of use Bitcoin as a way to help people is this Built with Bitcoin initiative, hashtag Built with Bitcoin. And you mentioned briefly earlier that you're in the process of building the third school that you built in Kenya. But can you tell us just a little bit more about what Built with Bitcoin is?
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Built with Bitcoin just started as a dream that I've had for a long while. Like, I built my first school, rebuilt my first school after Hurricane Katrina. It was a pretty devastating hurricane that took down New Orleans.
Mm.
And I read about that. I was like, man, no one's helping those people. So I actually went down to New Orleans, and by some miracle, I got into the city. It was like the first day they were
Yeah.
like
Okay. Wow.
shooting people on sight anymore. And
Literally. Yeah.
I went in there and I went to like the Salvation Army, the Red Cross. They didn't know what the hell was going on. I went to the FEMA, the military, no one knew what was going on. And finally, I met these 5 nuns, and I spent 3 weeks there, and I helped them rebuild the first school to open up in the entire city, the New Orleans Cathedral Academy, right in the heart of
Wow.
the French. And because we did that, all the police and fire department, they could come back to the city. So that actually opened up the path to the city actually getting started again. Because without the
Mhm.
police and fire department, there is no city. That's what you saw. It doesn't matter how many military people you have running around or whatever. Quite an adventure over there. I got busted by the cops. They thought I was a looter. I went through a lot. I had to basically procure all these supplies and raided Lowe's and got so many help from some. Anyway, that was my first school. After that, I said, hey, I want to build more schools. It was kind of a mission I had in the back of my mind. So at
Mhm.
Paxful, our mission is to build 100 schools throughout Africa and the emerging world. Me and my co-founder, this is now his dream too. And the reason we can do this is because we're completely bootstrapped. We're like 250 people right now. We didn't take a dime from any venture capitalist or anything like that, because there's no way any VC would say, oh, yeah, you could build 100 schools. Like, who cares, man? Come on. Like,
Right.
we care.
Right.
We care. So we built 2 schools, the first 2 schools in Rwanda. It's actually like a little campus, right? It's like 3 school buildings, and it's from ages of baby to 13. It counts as 2 schools officially in the African system. The first school in Rwanda serves up to 400 students. Originally, it was taking up to 1,100, but they cut it down just to serve those students better.
Mm.
Um, it, it's not just it's water wells, water storage, water filtration. It's a sports field, a kitchen, a clinic that we just built in the first campus. So it's like a full little campus.
Mhm.
All the services there. We even like educated the teachers. We provided free healthcare for the students. So these are like little campuses, right? And we're building the next one in Kenya. So the first one we built in Rwanda, in Bugesera district, which is the heart of Rwanda. And the heart of Rwanda is the heart of Africa. Bugesera district is where the genocide first happened 20 years ago. The reason we chose Rwanda is really because of their leader, Kagame. This guy managed to heal a country from one of the worst genocides in human history. It
Mhm.
was actually a brutal act of supremacism, right? And this shows us that supremacism as like a virus isn't just limited to white people, right? It can happen anywhere in the world, right?
Right.
Like the French, Belgium kind of infected them with this, but they carried it through with deft precision, unfortunately. But the country has healed, and if that country can heal from something so horrible, that shows us that us humans can heal from anything. And that's why we chose Rwanda for our first campus.
Mhm.
Kenya is the next place. So our mission really in Africa, the first thing we have to do is connect the South, East, and West. Nigeria and South Africa alone are $1 trillion economy. You're bringing Kenya into that and their porting economy, and we have the grounds for a serious geopolitical triangle there that can actually like bring up the entire country. Because the truth is that in Africa, it's nearly impossible just to send money to the African country next door. We're
Okay.
gonna fix all this, right? So built with Bitcoin, the second campus, the third school officially, is now being built in Kenya, and it's being built in Machakos County, which is like the poorest county in Kenya right now. They've had a drought for 3.5 years. You can
Okay.
imagine how devastating that is. So I'm really excited about that. And this year we want to build a total of 6 schools. The other locations will be revealed, but we're working on it nonstop. Our partner is Zamzam Water. Those guys are amazing. I first found those guys on Instagram because they're a founder. I built an orphanage in Afghanistan and it was such a touching video that he made. I had to seek him out. And before this, I never believed in giving to charity. I was really like just disenchanted by it, especially when I went to New Orleans and I saw that the Salvation Army Red Cross weren't actually doing anything. Like they didn't do a damn thing. They gave away some corn lunches to some workers, and that was it. It was those 5 nuns that were doing literally all the work. 5 nuns were doing all the work and help people in that city.
Man,
right? And I saw that later. Seriously, yeah, 5 Catholic.
I believe you. Yeah.
They were rocking it. The Dominican order is unstoppable, man. So when I didn't believe in charity, but when I met Youssef and I talked to him and I saw what he was doing and I found out, hey, 100% of everything these guys get goes to actually helping real people. I was like, all right, I'm in. These guys are amazing. And we keep finding these amazing people. Like the whole charity scene most of it is, it's just like crypto, like 95% of it is just people who like give them money, it disappears. It doesn't actually help anyone. But there's that 5% that are the best people on the planet. And they're actually making a sustainable change in the world right now. It's our job to find those people and bring them in. And we're doing it.
That's awesome. So, and I think you touched on something really interesting earlier, which is like, you said you have this goal of building 100 schools, throughout Africa. But if you tell it to a venture capital company, like they get, fuck all. Like they don't. It's not interesting to them. So how do you balance, your efforts between being like a philanthropic organization and also a company, in the cryptocurrency financial services space that is growing and scaling as much as Paxful has? I mean, is that a challenge? And what are the challenges that are associated with that?
Well, first of all, our accountant was like, bro, you just put this in a non-for-profit. And I was like, yeah, it just doesn't feel right to me. I don't think so. I think every for-profit company should have it as part of their central mission to give back somehow. I know that sounds crazy. My accountant thinks it's crazy, but it's just what I believe. I don't think we should just like outsource that to a non-for-profit like Paxful.org. No, it should be part of every for-profit company's mission. I don't know why I feel so strongly about that, but I do, because when you take it out, like when you have all these people in a company, a for-profit company, they're very driven, very aggressive. They want to bring in for the company, and that's awesome. If you take the whole philanthropic, humanitarian, social good aspect away and put it in another company, another like enclosure, like a non-for-profit, you lose that energy of those people in the for-profit. They have the best energy, the energy to build and grow. Like you want that energy applying social good. That's the key. I don't want to disconnect that. And as an entrepreneur, that's very real. Like when we deal with these people all day. I'm one of them. I want to build. I want to grow. I'm a builder. I want that to be a part of my mission. Always be thinking about social good, social justice. So I believe in that. I can't. What I just gave you was my argument for that. Yeah. I don't think I thought my accountant is still shaking his head like, this guy. What's he talking about? Can you imagine the VCs, if he had any, how they'd react to that. But how I like justify this, honestly, in the beginning I just said like, I just want to do it, man. I don't know, man. Maybe we'll get some press out of it. Fuck it, I don't care. Like I just want to do it. And they were like, okay. But honestly, one of the best things that it's done, and this is a stroke of genius, which I had no idea was going to happen, it's brought us the best people that are joining Paxful.
Okay.
Like the best people are coming to us because they hear that we're doing this. Like, you guys are actually doing this? Why? Oh my God. Like the best programmers, people with money, they don't need a job. They're coming to us and they're like, hey man, how can I help you? Well, what's up with this built with Bitcoin thing? And it's like, that alone is like proving on the return 10x. And I had no idea that was going to happen. I had no idea that was going to happen. It's like, it's a stroke of genius. I wish I could take credit for it, but that was going to happen, but I didn't. Yeah. I got lucky with that one.
Well, Congratulations. I mean, that's awesome, and I hope that anyone who's listening takes note that that's a thing that can happen if you engage in some of these, not necessarily just for profit initiatives. And yeah, I think you're so right. Like, that relegating these social justice things to, social justice organizations, those people are fighting tooth and nail to do what they do. I don't want to, undermine the efforts that they're putting on there, but the entrepreneurial community has access to resources that the non-for-profit side of the world just doesn't. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The culture, the mindset, you want to, if you can aim a little bit of that towards social good and make it work within a for-profit structure, it's going to be amazing. Man. It can change the world overnight, really.
Yeah. So what's next for Paxful? Besides this build, what are Paxful's big plans for expansion? What's next for you guys?
Well, besides all our new products coming out, products that we've learned how to build with the right users, products built on top of a marketplace and our wallet, focusing on the 4 use cases: payments, e-commerce, remittance, and wealth preservation. And I can talk about those. Besides that, we have this new big plan called Pax Africana, right?
Okay.
Pax Africana has many goals, but we believe, and we believe this for a while, since we went to Africa 3.5 years ago, we believe that Africa is going to be the place that is really going to lead the world in innovation, growth, and especially financial prosperity over the next 50 years. I know it sounds crazy. People thought I was completely insane when I was saying this all those years ago. They're like, Africa, they would laugh. People would actually laugh at me. I was like, all right, fine, you can laugh. But there's a couple things that make this a sensible argument. And that's that, one, Africa has the youngest population in the world.
Okay.
2, that Africa is going to have over 50% of the population growth of the world over the next 50 years. And 3, and this is the big one, is that, that if you go there and you talk to these young Africans, these college students, these young entrepreneurs, you start to see, hey, wait a minute. These are they're not really like normal people. They're young, they're ambitious, they're brilliant, and there's so many of them. This is like as an entrepreneur, I have had over 13 startups in it. 11 times I failed in a row. I know what it means to be an entrepreneur. I've taken serial entrepreneurship to a point where it's almost a mental illness. I've been homeless.
Okay.
I know when I talk to people what kind of hunger they have. I can just feel it. And there are literally so many of these brilliant young entrepreneurs in Africa, and they are just looking for any opportunity. They find something and they go at it. You just feel it when you talk to them. This is truly the greatest natural resource of the country.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them. I can't state this strongly enough. As an entrepreneur, this is going to change the world. All we need to do is show them a path to this success. Obviously making websites is not going to be it. Because no matter what they do, they're limited by their financial system. They can't collect payments. They can't make payments. They're trapped. It's easier for them to buy a plane ticket and transport their physical body somewhere than it is for them to do that to their money. So how can you do business like that? And that's the main way that Africa has been held back. It truly has. Like, they are cut off from the financial system. People have to understand. But it's only with a lot of examples that, I can give you some examples. Like, for example, if you're a merchant in Western Africa and you want to sell some stuff online, or let's say you want to buy some stuff, because Africa doesn't make much stuff. They get it mostly from China. If you want to make a payment and buy some video games from Shenzhen, you know how hard that is to do for someone in Nigeria, for example? Like, they're going to have to take their local money, turn it into USD on the black market, pay 20 to 30, 40% sometimes for that, and find a way to get that USD to Hong Kong somehow, turn it into Hong Kong dollars, and then find a way from there to get it into China. 3 or 4 hops, a 1 or 2 week, they have to call upon their local networks, their friends and family. Is anyone you live in China? It's a nightmare. And now all they have to do is get some Bitcoin, and then from there they can turn that Bitcoin into any form of money in the world. whether they want to turn it into a bank transfer in the United States to buy a car, or they want to turn it into a bank transfer or Alipay payment to China to buy some video games. Boom, done. All they do, and instead of taking 3 or 4 hops, it literally happens. If they already have the Bitcoin in just one trade, they sell the Bitcoin and say, hey, pay this guy, here's the Alipay invoice. And the guy in China will do it, and he's happy to get the Bitcoins. That's the beauty of it. And that's the next example. An e-commerce example is I met this very sweet and awesome entrepreneur in Africa. Her name is Bahira. Bahira, she sold clothes. She made her own clothes for African women living outside of Africa. She told me her Instagram and said, oh, these clothes are awesome. Like, well, where's your shopping cart? Like, what systems think, oh, I don't. I just have an Instagram page, and they like me, they message me, and if they want to buy my stuff, and it's usually African women not living in Europe or America that buy her stuff. She says, oh, I just give them my friend's bank account in New York from my same, town.
Oh, wow.
She will give these ladies her friend's bank account. Her friend will get the money, and then he'll just send her the money locally to from his African bank account that he still has to her African bank. So because she has this magical friend that she grew up with living in the United States that she trusts and has access to these financial accounts, she can actually conduct her business. But if she loses that friend, she's done. What about all the other millions of entrepreneurs in Africa that don't have that magical friend?
Right, exactly.
What Paxful does is we give them access to literally a whole world of these magical friends. And Bitcoin takes care of the trust, the blockchain. That's its killer app. That's peer-to-peer finance. That's the beauty of all of this. It just makes sense. So the remittance use case, I gave you an example already, like my friend Vicky in Berlin. She's from Kenya. She wants to send money to her sister on M-Pesa. Formally to send money to her sister, she would have to send it to the Western Union. She pays 25%. So 1,000 euros, she'll pay over 200 euros, right? Just to send 1,000 euros to Nairobi. And it takes her sister like 2 days to pick it up. It's a huge hassle. She has to go to the Western Union office, wait online. It's a bitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I showed her, hey, look, I'm going to send 100 euros to your sister right now. Does she have an M-Pesa account? Yeah, she gave me her sister's number. Opened up a trade on Paxful with a guy in Kenya and said, hey, will you send, 100 euros worth of Kenyan shillings to this number? He's like, yeah, sure. It was actually 101 euros worth of Kenyan shillings, right? Because the exchange, the Bitcoin is harder to come by in Kenya. So they're happy to pay a fee for it. So her sister got the money instantly, like within 5-10 seconds or something like that. She was like, oh, I got the money on M-Pesa immediately. She could use it right away. She didn't have to go wait in line or anything like that. She didn't have to go through her bank. She got it right away. She could use it right away. She got a bonus on top. And when Vicky saw that, she was like, oh my goodness. And that actually serves two purposes. Because not only are you able to send money to your friends and family instantly with no hassle and often for a bonus, but it also gets Bitcoin into local economies in Africa, because even South Africa has a liquidity problem. Bitcoin in South Africa is 6% over market price and any of the exchanges. If you want to buy 20 Bitcoins and you put that on an order book in the leading South African exchange, Luno, you'll destroy their whole order book. Like you'll spike the price up of Bitcoin in South Africa. We could do that right now, destroy it. Like that's how little liquidity there is. Why? Because there's all kinds of financial controls within South Africa. Even countries like South Africa, for example, that you can't send out more than a million rand a year. That's like $80,000 or $50,000, like that. Yeah. So how are people going to get Bitcoin in? There's all these like just controls everywhere, all over Africa. That's why it makes it so hard just to send money to the country next door. It's not just friends and family. It's companies that are South African companies may have a whole bunch of virtual assistants in Zambia, Malawi. How do they pay those people? Using the banking system is a huge burden, not just for people, but also for corporations. In India, that's another huge problem as well. Like, for example, like the Indian banking system, no one trusts it, especially not outside companies. To pay their VAs, they're paying them in Bitcoin. The Indians are liquidating the Bitcoin for rupees. So that means India is having a surplus of Bitcoin now, but South Africa and Africa has a deficit. How can we connect those two economies together to solve this deficit issue? And these are the problems that we're trying to solve, economy by economy, corridor by corridor, use case by use case. This is the mission. This is where we need the smartest people in the entire world. Instead of working on cryptocurrency code and elliptic, graphs and all of that stuff, stop, look over here. We need help with real business problems,
Right.
solving liquidity problems in these economies. I'm making a call out for help here. If you can help me with this, if you know maybe guys from India that are living in South Africa and want a discount on South African Rand and they have Bitcoin, come to Paxful, talk to me. We can make something amazing happen. We solved this liquidity problem in Ghana and Nigeria. Paxful's business in Ghana, which is our third biggest market, went up 5,000% last year. Why? Because we solved the Bitcoin liquidity problem in West Africa using gift cards largely. And now there's a whole crop of entrepreneurs that are growing up in those economies right now, hiring people around them, starting their own Bitcoin businesses, peer-to-peer finance businesses. And it's absolutely amazing what's happening over there. One of the things we're going to do this year is that Western Africa, we're going to go there. I want to celebrate Paxful's 5th anniversary in Western Africa, in Lagos. It's going to be a wild party, Rachel. You got to come.
I wish I could be there. Yeah. Sign me up.
You never get to see anything like that, man. Lagos will change your whole reality.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So going into Western Africa and really supporting the entrepreneurs there. I mean, there's so many success stories that have come out of Paxful. We have a series now called our Vendor Stories, and one of our missions is we want to get this series out to everyone and really show the world what they can do. You can actually build your own business right now on top of peer-to-peer finance. And it's not, a speculative business where you're taking money from people. And no, it's a sustainable, real business like selling lemonade. You're selling your financial services. You're helping people. You're building up the economies around you. It's the most beautiful thing imaginable. The only thing that's more beautiful than building schools is helping entrepreneurs build their own businesses, create real value, and build up their communities. That is our greatest contribution to the world. And we do that as a matter of course, according to this business model. Why? Because our users are damn awesome. They're just the best, man. They figure things out. They will always find a route, and they are so creative. And that's what the money business is all about. It's adding value. It's building up economies. Our mission, before anything else, our mission is to generate wealth for the people. That's what we're here to do, guys, in crypto. We're here to generate wealth. And we generate wealth by allowing free trade. Trade is not free right now, especially in the emerging world. They have the money, they have the wealth, they have the ideas, they have the energy. They have a lot of energy, a lot of vitality, especially the African people. Just give them a way to trade freely. That's our mission. And they'll get rich. And all of humanity will get richer. It's the best possible deal there is.
Yeah, absolutely. Ray, thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to you and see how passionate about what you're doing and also to see that passion come into reality. Being over the last year and a half since we last spoke, so much has happened for your business and all the things that you're involved in. So I want to congratulate you and please keep us updated with everything that you're up to.
Thank you, Rachel. It really, coming from you, that means a lot. You're one of the real people in this space, and we're all focused on doing real things here. We truly have the greatest opportunity in the past 100 years. Really, these past 100 years, humanity has been through so much. Two huge world wars. We're going through something really nasty right now, especially with this economic warfare that's happening. But we are poised right now. We have a mobile revolution happening right now. Everyone has a cell phone. We have all these, 7 billion humans on the planet. 5 to 6 billion of them are invisible, but a lot of them are young. We have an amazingly awakened population in Africa right now, and they are ready to go. We have Bitcoin, peer-to-peer electronic cash. It happened 11 years ago. We have the sharing economy as a concept that has finally come in, and we have this huge network and community around peer-to-peer finance and Bitcoin right now. We can take all of these little building blocks and literally create something magical. And what we're going to see is the rapid and mass creation of wealth. All money is work. And there are so many humans right now, and they want to work. Can you imagine the scale of wealth that's going to be generated? And real wealth based on work. Real, it's like civilizations rising up and leveling up. It's like SimCity on steroids, and we can do it. We can do it. We're doing it. Like,
SimCity on
people are
steroids.
ready.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. It's what we're
Yeah.
all like, the game that we're playing. And you can see it as a game. I think it's sometimes good to see things as a game because it brings out that gamer mentality in us. And that's a very powerful mentality because it's full of enthusiasm. It's generative. You want to build up, and that's all this is.
Yeah.
We're playing with very high stakes, though. It truly is. This is like the fate of the universe at stake. It's as epic can get, and it all starts with money. It all starts in this business, and you don't have to. If you're in the money business, it doesn't make you evil, right? There's a lot of good people here. We're the good guys. We can take it back. We can pull it away from speculation and all this nonsense, and we can bring it back to the people. And that's what we're doing. And the people got it. From there, once you bring it back to them, they're already doing it, guys. So we should be so thankful. We're living in really the most awesome time in human history. We have the biggest opportunity in human history. So this is a call out to everyone listening to this. Come on over. I'm Ray Paxful on Twitter, Ray Paxful on Telegram, ray@paxful.com. Reach out to me if you've got some brilliant ideas, you've got an awesome business, you've got, some corridors, and you've got some information from me or some advice. I'm all ears.
Awesome. Okay, Ray. Thanks for your time. Thanks for catching up.
Thank you, Rachel. Bye.
Yes.